Hey, supply chainers, wherever you are in the world, this is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the Blended podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge as well. And I'm super excited to be here with you today because we're going to be talking about so many different things, but we're going to be talking a lot about EDI. And I've got Erik from Orderful, who is going to be joining me in just a few minutes once I give you a bit of an update on what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So let's talk about it. So our newest episode this week, of course, it's the first Monday of the month. So it's episode 310, and it's our Woman in Supply Chain series. And we're featuring Grace Sharkey of FreightWaves. Now, this was the first time that I got to meet Grace. And let me tell you, she is a bundle of energy, and her journey is so interesting. So definitely go and check that out, because she also has a show, I think, over on Sirius XM as well. So go check her out. On this episode, we talk all about her journey. So what else is happening? We've got some live shows coming up for you. So Action Items with DC Shfragola, that is happening Friday, December 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And she's going to be talking about combating inflation with automation. And then we have moved our Emerge LinkedIn Live. So we were supposed to go live this Wednesday, but we wanted to give it a little bit more time because we want to give you some time to attend this particular event, because you are not going to want to miss it. Who's in the driver's seat with your supply chain? We're going to be talking all about that and what Emerge is doing in this space. So definitely go to our live events on our event page on LinkedIn and click the attend button, because you're definitely going to want to be there. We've got a brand new episode of Blended. So episode 26 came out last Wednesday for veterans. We did this in November. Veterans' voices, inspiring stories from those who serve. And let me tell you, this was a great episode. You might recognize Christina and Jerry and Sil, and they talked all about their experiences and their perspectives on what we need to do in our workplaces to really support veterans and how we can best do that. So really thankful for them to come on this particular episode, and hope that you are going to go and check that out. Plus, we have a brand new impact page. I don't know if you know this, but we are talking all about the impact that we're making in the industry. We obviously have the Blended Pledge, but we also support Kiva for entrepreneurship, Harvest 107 for food, and so much more. We also do water.org as well. So if you want to go and check out some of the programs that we are involved in, definitely go and check out our impact page on our website. And then last but not least, if you are looking for something for the supply chainer in your life, we have our shop over at letstalksupplychain.com. We've got all sorts of stuff, from hoodies to t-shirts to hats, mugs, stickers as well. And we're going to be bringing some of that with us to manifest as well. All right. Oh, and there's one more thing that I want to just show you guys, because I know we've been talking about this. And let me just make sure that I can get this up. Here we go. There. So I want to talk to you guys about Superstar Game Face. So this is our brand new game show. Now, we did have it marked for release tonight, but we've had some challenges with recording. You know as well as I do that people have been getting sick. And so we've had some challenges with that as well. But we are recording it this week, and we're going to be releasing it soon. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to release it before the holidays or we're going to release it for January, but definitely stay tuned for this one. Let me just tell you, there's some lobster claws involved, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with supply chain on this one. So definitely a do not miss. All right. Well, without further ado, now it's time for me to bring up my guest, Erik. Hello, Erik. How are you?
Hey, good. Good morning.
What's happening? What's shaking? Tell everybody who you are.
Oh, I mean, a lot's happening. There's so much going on. We got the holidays. We just
Yeah.
at Orderful, we just came back from a company trip. We're all in Cabo for a week.
Nice.
You know,
Very nice.
some of the feedback has been it was super fun, but maybe just one too many parties.
You
I
can't
didn't think
have
that
too
was
many
possible,
parties.
but yeah, just recovering from that and looking forward to the holidays.
Awesome. Awesome. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Erik Kiser. I'm the CEO of Orderful. My background has been in all around business to business data integration. Started my career as a consultant, kind of on the ground, cut my teeth building EDI integrations for manufacturers, connecting them with their retailers, their logistics providers, their warehouses, et cetera. And then, over the years, that was about 15 years ago, and over time, I started to recognize there's an opportunity in the market to build a SaaS platform that solves the onboarding problem, which is what brought me here.
Awesome. Awesome. And you were on the show just a little while ago. So if you go to letstalksupplychain.com, you can actually learn more about them, who their ideal client is, how you best help your customers, all that kind of stuff. So go to podcast or Let's Talk Supply Chain page, put in Orderful, and their episode will come up. Now, I want to give a shout out to Christina and Demo over on my personal LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. I know, Christina, it's been a while since you've been here, so it's really, really great to see you. And we're going to get to a market update in just a second. But what I want to do is I want to talk about the poll of the week. So the question that we asked everybody was, would you recommend a job in supply chain to a friend? So 75% of you said absolutely. 13% of you said, I guess so. 8% of you said, not really. And 4% of you said, oh, heck no. I really want to hear from that 12% of the not really or the oh, heck no as to why. Erik, what do you think about this one?
I mean, the 12%, like, they're probably saying it's not for the faint-hearted. They're probably saying you gotta roll up your sleeves if you want to work in supply chain. Um, yeah, I can understand that, but I would highly recommend people come work in supply chain, whether it's a technology company or even working for like a small brand.
Yep.
I actually started my career at a meat manufacturer.
Uh-huh.
Where we're tearing apart animals, which sounds really gross, but it was actually like a really good learning experience because you figure out like what happens to all these parts, where they go, after the animals kind of cut down, like how does it get packaged, where does it get shipped, who's buying it, what are they buying it for, how are you planning for all that? It's a really cool thing to learn.
Well, and I think most of the comments that we had on this was that it's crazy, but it's never boring. And that's absolutely true. And what's interesting is that Philip over in Europe, he actually asked this exact same question of his community, and he kind of got the same results. He got 13% of people that said not really or oh heck no. And he got 70% for absolutely, where we got 75% as well. So it's really interesting. I think if you've been in it for a long time, like we have, or like I have, it's kind of in my blood, and I can't picture a world in which I don't work in supply chain.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely highly recommend it to people to join, because it definitely is not boring. And especially on the tech side, there's so much innovation. It's an exciting time to be in supply chain as well. What would you tell folks that are looking to get into the technology side of supply chain? What advice would you give them if they're looking to do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of entrance into the market. There's a lot of ways to get in. Whether you have like a certain skill that would support a software company,
Hmm.
or if you're interested in a specific industry. Yeah, I would kind of focus on something, whether it's like a specific problem that you're interested in. In our case at Orderful, it's integrating data between enterprises. I know that there's a lot of freight tech companies that are interested in freight visibility or solving problems around freight visibility. So if you're interested in kind of, understanding kind of how the shipping lanes work across the country, how trucks work, I would just kind of focus on, pick a niche, focus on something, whether it's a particular role or a problem that a company is solving, and go after that.
Absolutely. That's really great advice. Now, I want to give a shout out to Hector and Zishan over on my personal LinkedIn as well. Now, what are you hearing from your clients? So, we're hearing a lot from the tech side, right? And VC
Yeah.
backed companies of, looking at 2023, what that's looking like.
Yeah.
So, give us an idea of, what that looks like for you at Orderful. But I also want to hear what your clients are asking. What are they looking for? What are they asking? Has there been a shift in what we're talking about? So give us a bit of a market
Yeah.
update.
So Orderful, we're in a pretty good position where we've been growing year over year. And what we've done is we've slowed down hiring a bit. We're kind of focused on being conservatively optimistic in 2023.
Okay.
So what that means for us is we can go after a big go-to-market plan, but we've kind of dialed that back to be conservative around what the market's going to do, because we're not sure. And the challenge right now is like understanding, our company is going to stop spending money on IT projects if they're, because we are in a recession and it's likely going to get worse. Are they going to stop spending money on IT projects? Are they going to stop implementing new ERPs? Are they going to stop, implementing new WMSs, TMSs, whatever it is? If that work stops, it's likely that kind of EDI integration could stop. So for us, we're kind of being a bit conservative around how to approach the market. But with that said, we're not seeing any slowdown from leads. We're not seeing any slowdown from opportunities. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it for 2023.
Absolutely. Well, just an update on my side. I found this over on The Hustle. The shipping container business brought in 58.9 billion in Q3 of 2022, up 22% year over year and 158% higher than the combined profits of Meta, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. That is a lot. So at the end of the day, we're still shipping. They do say potentially sometimes it's, the shipping industry is down, but we also have to understand that, everything went up on the shipping side during the pandemic. And so even if it dips a little bit, we're still not seeing the levels that we were at before the pandemic and things like that. So just a little bit of a market update on my side.
Great thing about the supply chain is it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
Right.
So we're in it. Even if the market's down, there's still going to be activity, still problems to solve. So it's a really good place to be.
Yeah, and people are still going to buy product. All right, so let's talk about our first article. So this article came from you at Orderful, and it talks about EDI validation. Now, talk to me a little bit. So for those in the audience that don't know what EDI is, what is EDI? First of all, and then we're hearing a lot about API as well. And so I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between EDI and API, and why the focus on EDI? And then we can talk about the examples and what the problems are currently in EDI at the moment.
Great. Yeah, EDI is the way that enterprises integrate data with their supply chains. So whether it's purchase orders, invoices, shipment notices, maybe truck requests, pick requests, whatever it is, it's the way that an enterprise communicates with their supply chain. What it is it's really old technology. It's predates the internet, and the technology is essentially building a flat file that's has some syntactical structure to it, but there's like very little integrity to the file itself. And then what you do is you build this flat file is asterisk limited. You send it over an FTP server, and then your trading partner or your supply chain partner goes to that FTP server and picks it up. So it's a super old technology. but everybody uses it. It's riddled throughout the
like Excel.
Yeah, I mean, like email is kind of the same way. Like email is probably not the best way
Email
for us
too.
to communicate with each other, but it's been around forever. We're all using email. Is it the best solution for communication? Probably not. Kind of same thing with EDI. So what we've done at Orderful is we built a modern EDI platform to bring this legacy tech into today's times. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it is.
So talk to me a little bit about this example that you used, because in this article you talked about a shoe manufacturer and how the process was really cumbersome. And I think how you guys came in and really helped get more orders, not only for them, but also for their trading partner.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, these companies that have to trade, every company has to integrate with their supply chain. So the challenge is that, like, if you're integrating with retailers, like Walmart, Costco, Amazon, may all have different requirements. So for the shoe manufacturer, I'm sure they're also trading with like Nordstrom's and Macy's and the big box kind of fashion retailers. The challenge is that the manufacturer has to build custom integrations to each one of those retailers, because those retailers all have their own requirements.
Whew.
And every time you're building a custom integration with a new trading partner, it can take up to 12 weeks to get this done. Not only because you're building this like flat file that's asterisk limited, but you have to communicate with the retailer. You have to kind of dance together. So when you're onboarding, you have like this small manufacturer. In this case, I think the article said a shoe company trading with Nordstrom. You've got the big behemoth trading with kind of the small company. It's hard to get their attention. It's hard to get the time of day to get the job done. So what happens is there's a lot of back and forth between the two companies that results in wasted time.
Yeah.
What's unique about Orderful, what the article talks about, and kind of what our secret sauce is we built a network of all of these retailer requirements and 3PL requirements and carrier requirements, whoever the partner is. We built this network, and we take all their requirements and we publish them in our platform. So when a company hits our API and they connect once to us, they can immediately test with any retailer that they want to trade with. And what the article talks about is our ability to validate data in real time. Typically, if you're a manufacturer sending this data to a retailer, there's no guarantee before you send it that the retailer is going to accept your data.
Right.
With any other EDI product on the market, with Orderful, you can get the guarantee right in our platform, and it's real time. So we've dramatically reduced the amount of time for these companies from like 12 weeks down to about 9 days. And so when we talk about making more money through their retailers, they just have a faster time to go to market, right? Like you don't have to wait 12 weeks to start selling new shoes. They can start selling new shoes next week and just start generating revenue from that relationship right out of the gate.
Well, and if we think about supplier diversity, right? Because all of those big retailers are talking about supplier diversity and working with smaller suppliers. Right. And a lot of times when we talk about supplier diversity, we're talking about how the contracts are too big, right? We need to reduce the size of the contracts because they don't have necessarily the funds to go to a lawyer to go through a contract that big, or maybe even payment terms, right? Where we need payment terms to be 30 days rather than 90 days, right, because they don't have the capability necessarily to hold out for 90 days over the 30 days. But now what we're talking about is an actual platform that the big retailers can utilize when looking at working with smaller suppliers, right? Smaller suppliers looking at a platform that they can work with to get more money in their pocket faster.
That's right.
And so I think that that's amazing and really is going to help with that supplier diversity gap, right? And that's the third thing that we're missing, right? Like I said, we talk about contracts, we talk about payment terms, but now we need a platform that already has the information from those big retailers where we can just sort of plug and play. Otherwise, it takes time, it takes money, and you're not going to be able to work with those small suppliers or those diverse suppliers. Now, we're going to talk a lot more about onboarding in just a minute because we're going to go back to that in the next article. But what I want to talk, or the third article, what I want to talk about in this next article is what Lowe's is doing. So Lowe's is expanding this term called market delivery model for large products. So we all know, we're all in shipping. We all know that bulk items are a big pain in the ass, but to ship. And Lowe's has decided that they are going to take this head on. So this new market delivery model, what it means is they're going from their distribution centers to a cross-dock center and then to the customer. So rather than getting two deliveries from two different locations, they're bringing everything together and they're delivering once to the customer. Now, what this is doing for them is it's improving inventory turns, reducing damage, and it's higher on-time delivery. Now, how can your model, right? Lowe's is a giant retailer. And thinking about this model with the market delivery or this market delivery model that they're talking about, how can your EDI platform really help to flow into what these large retailers are doing from a last mile delivery perspective?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is around inventory management and making inventory available for the consumer. It's about making the quality of life better for the consumer. Um, what we can do and what we do with in these situations is we will help Lowe's integrate with their 3PLs, whether they have their own distribution centers, their own warehouses, or third-party services. So they have access to that inventory. They have access to kind of move around their products when they see fit. As like e-commerce has taken off, there's been huge changes in how these retailers operate in the back end when it comes to kind of maintaining and managing inventory. They have to be ready for kind of high touch experiences with products like this. I think this is like, I think if Lowe's didn't do this, they would lose the business, right? So they have to find ways to automate and integrate with their trading partners, whether it's a 3PL or their own warehouse. And then those are the things we can help.
Absolutely. And I think that it's time that, the large retailers are looking at this type of model as well, right? Too many times we talk about Amazon and how we get different products from different places, or you place one order and you get 5 different boxes, right? But we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about CO2 emissions. And so it's about time that these large retailers are actually putting a plan in place for everything to come into one place and deliver one time. Now, we'll see as far as delivery, they're saying higher on time delivery is actually coming out of this project. But when you get to places where things are a little bit more further away from each other, we'll actually see how this model works. So I'm interested to see what Lowe's is going to do with this, but I do like the fact that, what you're doing from an EDI perspective can actually flow into the last mile delivery and the customer experience. And that actually works well for the big retailers as well as the smaller suppliers that are feeding into those large retailers as well. Now, you mentioned onboarding previously. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because I have another article from you guys, and it says that the EDI onboarding, I think, can take something like 8 to 10 weeks. Now, that is a really long time, especially if you've got inventory in the warehouse and you want to connect with these large retailers, get your product on the floor or in their e-commerce stores so that you can start selling to their customers. And so both of you start making money. But 8 to 10 weeks is a really long time, especially for small retailers or small suppliers that we're talking about. So how can this be streamlined? Like, what is it that talk to me from a supplier perspective. When they come to Orderful, who is your ideal client for you? Is
Yeah.
a small supplier kind of that ideal client? And what does this look like? Like, how do you take it from months to less than 5 days?
Yeah, great question. So, we can service any type of company in the supply chain, and whether it's a supplier or a 3PL, um, or a warehouse, we can service like those types of accounts. Typically, where we're helping are more mature organizations that already have existing EDI infrastructure, right? They understand the problem. They have their own supply chain connections, and they want a way to start trading more quickly with their supply chain. Onboarding is kind of, I think, the key problem with EDI. In my experience as a consultant back in the day, the thing that frustrated me the most with EDI was actually, how long it took to start trading with a new partner. And I mentioned it a little earlier, but the challenge is kind of the dance between David and Goliath. You
This
know,
picture, right?
what's that?
This picture kind of showcases it, right? Everybody's got to go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, this picture's good. So like, on the left, you have like it kind of depicts what the challenge is multiple trading partners. Like if you're a manufacturer, you're on the right, you have your ERP system. And what you want to do is you want to trade with maybe Walmart, Costco, Amazon. All three of those companies have different requirements. They have different shapes of their transactions. They have different communication channels. And what that causes the supplier to do is build custom apps and custom kind of ways to communicate with their partners. The technical job isn't that challenging, but what's really challenging is getting Walmart to pay attention to you, or
Right.
getting Costco to pay attention to you. And that's where a lot of the time is wasted, is when these companies go to test, because they all have to test with the retailer. They send a transaction to them, and there's no guarantee that the retailer is going to accept their data. So what the retailer does is they'll send feedback back to the supplier and tell them what was wrong with the transaction in an email.
Mm.
And so that's what's called validation. So the retailer will send this validation email back. Supplier will go back and change the code, and then send another transaction. And maybe a few weeks later, the retailer sends another transaction back. And next thing you know, you're at like a 10 to 12 week timeline.
Whew, that's a long time to try to make money.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And imagine doing that with 100 trading partners, right?
Whew,
Like,
that's a lot of work.
that's the challenge. So at Orderful, what's unique about us is we do three things really well. We simplify EDI integrations by offering an API where companies can connect to us once and then trade with their whole supply chain through that connection. We have a few features to support this. We have a feature called Integration Assistance, where we consolidate all the retailer requirements into one payload so that our customers can connect to our API once, get all the requirements in one place, and then have access to trade with their supply chain through that.
Nice.
The second thing we do really well is we reduce onboarding time. So we've gone from, right now, our average go live time is about 9 days. Typically with EDI, it's about 12 weeks. And the way we do that is we automatically validate, convert, and communicate data. So what that means is when somebody posts an API transaction, we'll guarantee that data will be accepted by Walmart or Costco.
Ooh, that's a big deal.
Yeah. And so when we make that guarantee, they post a transaction, they can get real-time feedback in our product, and then they can also solve validation problems in our product. No longer are they having this like really awkward dance with the major retailers. They can just solve all their problems in a self-service way on our platform. And then once their data is valid, they can then send it to the retailers.
Awesome. I love that. So Bayram, AJ is going to put that article in the YouTube comments for you. That's coming at you right now. But I think what's important from this conversation really is, if you're working for a large retailer in supply chain, definitely go and take a look at this, especially if you're focusing on your supplier diversity program, because this could make it a lot easier for you to do business with those smaller suppliers. And I think for all of the suppliers out there, I mean, if you're going directly to those big retailers, I don't know why you're doing that anymore because you've got somebody like Orderful who can actually, put it into a nice little package for you and get you making money faster. Listen, Erik, this has been amazing. We do have a question from Bayram. Can EDI improve CRM management? Really quickly, because we got to go in a minute.
Kind of two different categories of software. I haven't seen EDI improve CRM management, but I have seen inventory management, kind of like the more IMS side of it, be dramatically improved with EDI.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you to everybody for joining us today. Erik, thank you for joining me on this episode. Next week, Audrey Ross will be back with me, and we've got some great articles for you then. Have a great week, everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks.